RJ, they have done it. They have picked up their first win of season 4, first win with Dan Bylsma behind the bench. This was a great game. Like, this was a really fun hockey game. Like, I don't remember the last time I had this much fun watching a Kraken game, and just the back and forth, the response goals from the Kraken, the finding a way to get it to overtime, finding a way to win in the shootout, all of that kind of stuff. This is the game that made it feel like this is a different team from last year.
Yeah, it was fun, and especially so if you like suspense, because, oh boy, did the Kraken keep us on the edge of our seats throughout this entire game with the back and forth nature of everything. But you know what? Ultimately, this was just a gutsy effort, a really gutsy effort from this team to erase 3 deficits, right? 3 separate deficits, and to win it in the shootout. And the thing that stands out to me, you said this feels like a different team than last year. Here's the stat to prove it. All last season, you remember, the Kraken did not have a single win after trailing by multiple goals. They were the only NHL team that did not have a multi-goal comeback win. 2 games in, they have their first one.
Yep. No, this is a different group. Are there still growing pains to the systems, young player growing pains, all that stuff? Yes, there is some of that stuff to this game. But this is what we had talked about when we had kind of looked ahead a little bit on that last deep dive, where we were talking kind of how many points does maybe the Kraken need to get out of this month. And we were looking at that game against St. Louis, this game against the Wild, and say, look, these are the other teams that are, playoff bubble teams. You have to find a way more often than not this season to collect points against them. Right. And especially wins. And here the Kraken were able to tonight against a Wild team that, yes, was able to go up on them a couple times. Kraken stay fighting, stay in it, make sure that they get it done in the end. Fantastic effort from them. Definitely lots of stuff to break down, but want to get into chat here real quick. Thanks everybody for joining us, by the way, for Post Game Live, our first victory Post Game Live of the season. Got a couple super chats to get to. First one from the Comic Binge. Our fourth line is ridiculous. Huge W. They started the game off, RJ, opening draw, Yanni Gourde out there. Fourth line really was buzzing tonight, and then that Ty Cartier goal was huge.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is the textbook fourth line goal that you want to see, right? It's Tanev and Gourde are in the corner fighting for that puck, winning a puck battle. It's simple, right? It's not complicated, but that's what the fourth line is in there to do. They're there to grind, and they throw it out quickly to Ty Cartier. Dylan, how many times in practices, training camp, this whole preseason, did we see the team practicing getting the puck out from the corner and throwing it to those spots right at the faceoff dot for a quick shot? So many times we saw that, and we're seeing these plays that we saw through practice, through training camp, come to reality in very key moments of the game, and they just executed it perfectly.
I was going to say that really felt like the moral of the story for this game was seeing so much of what you and I have been watching, and the fans on the open days have been watching the Kraken work on here this last month or so, kind of coming together, and you were seeing it in a game, them getting results from it. Like the Jordan Eberle goals are also representative of that. So I was super pumped about that. And yeah, the fourth line was fantastic. Ty Cartier, huge goal there. Super chat here from Sean. Not sure we've ever seen responses like this from the Seattle Kraken. Welcome to the new era. You had brought up the fact they'd never come back from multi-goal deficit last season. We see that tonight. The response goals, right? Like, we've never been the team of the response goal. And I mean,
they have been, but not on the right side of things.
Yeah. Yes. The team scoring the response goals. And if so far, like into this season, that very much feels like something this team is capable of. This team seems a lot less allergic to momentum, right? Last year, the team was very allergic to momentum. This seems like a team that through both games, really, right? Like, once they find momentum, they find ways of kind of stealing it back and then kind of building on it for a little while. This game, obviously better than last one for the end result, but that does seem like something that is in the cards for this group, which we've never been able to say before.
Right. It seems like a trademark thing early on. I thought the most dangerous the Kraken looked at any moment during this game was the few shifts they had after being scored on. And you love to see that from a team because it can help change the momentum. And we saw it with a couple of response goals. Teams after scoring a goal can sometimes, take a step back, right? And they can be on the back foot. And we saw it on the wrong end last season a lot of times with the Kraken, right? This time they're on the right side. They're taking advantage. And if they can just believe also, because it's important to get the results there. I think if you have a lot of those good response shifts that don't go in for you, don't produce results, it can be easy to kind of, oh, well, it's not really going to do much for us. But if you see the results early on, that can drive you all season.
Definitely. Next one here from Cameron, super chat. Thank you so much, man. I love Monty. What a great addition. Brandon Montour, RJ. I know fans were feeling his presence in game one, getting it again here tonight. Picks up an assist, +3 in this game. Phenomenal defensive stops a couple times, including there in overtime to basically save the chance to get the extra point. Yeah, and he is playing like somebody who is a real difference maker, right? Like
difference maker was the term I was going to use.
Okay, yeah. He feels like a difference maker in a way that the Kraken, I don't know that they've ever really had one before who can go out there and, especially because he's on the back end, plays almost 26 minutes tonight, makes the big play in overtime, able to contribute offensively. He's just built different from what we've seen players in the Kraken sweater do before.
Yeah, and when he's on the ice for that long, you see all the effects that he has. I mean, there are so many highlight plays I could clip from Brandon Montour. I stopped after a little while just because you were seeing it almost every shift. There was something that you could point out and highlight that he did. And in that overtime, I don't think I've ever seen a Kraken player look as dangerous during overtime as Brandon Montour did. And that's not even factoring where he single-handedly saved the game with that defensive play. I mean, I love the play where he took the puck into the zone, shot it, got his own rebound and drove the net, almost scored just himself there. And Dylan, the between the legs shot that hit the post, it was right before McCann's tying goal. So that kind of overshadowed it.
Right.
How many Kraken players even attempt something like that?
They just don't, right? That's not something that we've seen from this group before. Having him out there, like I said, a difference maker, whatever term you want to make it, he brings a different level of energy and confidence that I think this group was certainly lacking last year, and at times really kind of throughout their history, right? Even year two, when things were going really well for everybody, it was just kind of like everybody was riding that high of, if we just kind of throw it on net, it'll go in for us. He feels like the first guy that they've had where it's, let's bear down defensively. Let's make the stop. Let's use that to build momentum, get the puck up ice, go into the offensive zone, try to make something happen with it, right? Instead of like, okay, let's go into the offensive zone. Let's start a cycle. Let's go through our reads and progressions. Instead, when Montour's out there, it's very much like, no, let's just go make a play. And I think that's really helped them offensively. Cody with the super chat. What the heck just happened? Beating Minnesota in a shootout, literally and figuratively, wild.
Love that.
This was a fantastic, very entertaining hockey game, RJ. Love the back and forth. Yes, is it the most comfortable situation to be in the world if you're the Kraken, especially because you're the team having to come back and erase the deficit constantly? No, but it was just so much fun to watch a game like this from the Seattle Kraken, and then to have the end result be the W at the end of the game. It just felt special.
Yeah, and it felt like this was the game. I don't know if you feel the same, Dylan. This is the one that made it feel for me like hockey is really back. For whatever reason, that home opener against St. Louis, all the festivities before the game and all that was really cool. And you felt like, okay, I'm back at Climate Pledge. I'm back doing this thing. But as far as just following an actual hockey game where it just ropes you in and you are at the mercy of how the game goes and the flow of it, right? This is the one where I felt like, okay, hockey season's back.
Yeah, no, it did. It felt like just a fun back and forth hockey game. This is hockey at its best when both teams feel dangerous. They're going up and down the ice. Like, this is what you want. DJ Singleton with the super chat here. Even my grandma, a non-hockey watcher, loved this. This is hockey, like at its best. It's electric. It's back and forth. It's just a ton of fun. Love that.
This
DJ
is the game
Singleton.
to show grandma.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Sergeant Pickles with the super chat. Let's go, studs. You guys, I miss your faces. Duds, none. We got that W, baby. Twins almost old enough to go to games. That is fantastic, Sergeant Pickles. Glad to hear that. Hope the whole family's doing fantastic. Glad to see you in here. Thanks for the super chat. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff from this game, RJ. I think we've talked about Montour being a stud, but sneakily, how about Matty Beniers in this one? I felt like this was Matty's best game in a long time.
Yeah, and he had some of those sneaky good defensive plays that show up, but also he was generating things offensively. I'm trying to checking his ice time here. 18, 12, that's fairly solid. That's a good amount. And I mean,
Second amongst forwards.
oh, is it? Yeah, I'm looking at second amongst forwards behind only Chandler Stevenson. So, I mean, he really was the true kind of 2C in this one. I was wondering how these new lines would play out ice time wise, too, with Beniers and Wright switching spots and which line would get the most ice time. Bjorkstrand, Beniers, Tolvanen had the most ice time at 5-on-5 for the Kraken. And I wasn't really sure how to, because on the lineup graphic the Kraken put out, they were listed as the first line.
First line, yeah.
Are you sure about that? No, I guess they were.
Yeah, no, they just kind of were. And, credit to Matty too, also, right? He takes whatever happens to his face earlier on in the game, is able to come back from that and continues to play solid throughout it. It just felt like these are the kinds of games that the Kraken want from Matty Beniers, where he is that kind of solid, stable defensive presence, but also somebody able to help kind of contribute to things in the offensive zone, help move the puck around, help facilitate things, right? He's never necessarily going to be the guy in the offensive zone. That's never really been his thing, but he's going to be somebody who can help facilitate, move defensive bodies around to open up space for other guys. And he was just kind of buzzing tonight and had an energy about him that I thought, that we just hadn't seen in a while from him, and an excitement and all of that kind of stuff. So I love that, and I wanted to throw him in there with kind of Monty as like the forward and defensive stud of the game for me. B with the super chat, happy 300th and 301st goals for Captain Ebbs. What a game! Fantastic game from Jordan Eberle. C looks good on his jersey. RJ, love it on the road jersey. Like, glad we get to see it there. He was on fire, and really he was doing all of the stuff that you brought up earlier. We've seen the Kraken working on through camp and practices and all of that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. And this one, I also love just seeing it from, I felt like, a leadership perspective. This is the most, I guess, captainly that I've ever seen Jordan Eberle with the Kraken. And I think it starts after a first period where the Kraken really didn't generate anything at the net front. Just like nothing at all. You look at the shot map and there's just this big empty void around the Wild net. They could not get to the middle at all. And what did Jordan Eberle say after the first game, right? When he was asked about his leadership style, he said, I'm not a rah guy in the locker room. I like to lead by example. Let my play do the talking. That's exactly what he did. He was the guy jamming away, inches from the goal line, making sure that puck got over the line. And I think that's a way to lead by example for your teammates to show, this is where the goals come from. And I'm going to go there and I'm going to take the punishment and I'm going to make sure we get on the board.
Right. Like, we need to get something going here. This is the way to do it. Get into the crease, score a dirty goal, get that greasy goal, whatever you want to call it, shovel the garbage, right? Like, that is what he did, and he got it going. I love that point from you. I really like Jordan Eberle's game in this one. And yes, whether it's him with the C, the additional guys that they brought in, Dan Bosma and the rest of the new coaching staff behind the bench, it just felt like this team did not, I don't want to say that they gave up or rolled over at times last year, but there was never that feeling of they could get back in, right? For you as a viewer or as a fan or somebody in the media up on the press bridge, this game would have been over once it was 2-0. Like, that would have been it. We would have all been like, okay, it's another one of these nights. Maybe we get one. Let's root for like a good game from Shane or something, right? And instead, it just feels like this team knows that, like, 2 goals, like, we can do that. Like, that is possible for us. Let's take advantage of things. Let's take advantage of the fact that the refs call an insane penalty on the Wild, probably a makeup call. I don't know what they were really doing there, but like, let's take advantage of that. Let's get one of our plays going on the power play. Jordan Eberle going there. I don't think it was a kick, RJ. It looked like by the time his brain registered, it was going to be in his feet and he went to do the kicking motion, the puck had already long gone, left his skate. But that's the kind of stuff that you need to do, right? Capitalize on those opportunities that are given to you. And that is what they did.
Right. And that was a big moment in the game too, because that's one of those things that I think separates the good teams for the great teams, or the the bad teams from the good teams, or teams that are able to take advantage of a moment like that. Hockey is a game of momentum. We talk about it all the time, right? And that is a huge momentum moment where you get a call, and yes, it was a bad call. It was one of the worst calls I've seen, I think, really. It was just terrible. But you get a bad call in your favor, and the teams that can take advantage of that, that can really harm the other team psychologically. When it feels like there's nothing you can do, it's all going wrong for you, and the other team ties the game like that. And the Kraken took advantage, and that is what good teams do.
Yes, and it's something that it's sort of a new feeling for us with this team, and that's good. I'm excited about it. And then Jenna with this next super chat, captain number 300. It does also feel good because we are in year 4, right? Eberle has been around now. He has the C on his chest now, RJ. It does feel kind of special celebrating. We've already celebrated some milestones with Jordan Eberle before wearing a Kraken sweater, but now that he's got the C, there's just even more history now. Another year has kind of gone by. It really does feel special that the fan base gets to participate and have these big milestones with players who have been around for now close to half a decade.
Oh my gosh, no. Make me feel old here. We've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like it is nice that we all kind of get to celebrate that. And he's up to, this would be 60 goals for him wearing a Kraken sweater so far in his career. And it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm in the middle of typing a tweet here, but I'll let you in on, because I wanted to confirm it first, but this is the first time in franchise history the Kraken have gone a perfect 3-for-3 in the shootout. So that's fun too.
I felt like it probably
must be right, but I wanted to confirm
anything. I could not think of any other time in which that would have happened. Schultz with the super chat here. Given last season injuries, don't risk Dunn versus Dallas. I mean, yes, we're not going to know anything until tomorrow's morning skate. I would err on that side of caution, especially given the one like healthy scratch player you have right now is another defenseman that you could rotate in.
Yeah, absolutely. And that is kind of the dark cloud that hangs over this game. We did talk about all the positives, and I mean, really, it's nothing you can do as a team, right? But that is, I think, the biggest negative out of this game, and it is worth talking about. The status of Vince Dunn, because I get worried to see him hit along that spot too. It's like kind of a similar spot on the ice, different hit to the Pospisil one last season, but man, it just makes me nervous to see him go down like that, go off to the room. So hoping Vince Dunn's okay. I think, I'm trying to think of the best way to say this. Thankfully, I guess you can, if he is out, weather that absence, I think, a lot better by having Brandon Montour on the team. I think that's going to help you survive something like that in a way that you really couldn't without him. But still, this is not a player the Kraken can afford to lose for a long time.
Definitely not. And especially going into Dallas. And, you know, one of the things that made this game fun was not just the back and forth offensive nature for both teams, but also like there were some big hits in this game, right? Like it felt like a hockey game. Guys were going in and laying out the body at times. It is unfortunate that Vince Dunn is kind of caught in this situation. And yes, I think having Montour around certainly helps. I think Riker had a good game tonight. We haven't talked about him, but I think having him around also kind of helps. You can pick up slack on the power play, stuff like that.
Now, I'm curious, Dylan, I have a question for you. It was clear the Wild really stepped up and played a very physical game, and I think that got even more physical as the game went on. How do you feel about the way the Kraken responded to it? Because I don't think they really answered in kind, but I think they didn't let it get them off their game.
I agree with that. That's exactly what I would say is they didn't try to match it and get into that kind of like shoving match, so to speak, which I'm fine with, right? Like you could argue that they kind of did that last game against the Blues and it did not end well for you, right? So it's kind of like a lesson learned. I'm totally fine with that. You have to rise up and play a certain level of physical hockey if the other team wants to, right? Like just to kind of survive. And, you know, I think of a lot of the ways Shane plays physically, which is I've got no problem lowering my shoulder. I've got no problem trying to run through you or outmuscle you or box you out as I'm on my way into the corner trying to get a puck, something like that. And I think the Kraken as a whole did a lot of that in this game. They were unafraid to kind of drive to the net, right? Take the puck from the side of the offensive zone, try to go to the inside, try to box guys out, use your body to protect the puck and gain better ice. And so I think that's the kind of level of physical play this team is really built for. Like they have the bodies to do stuff like that. I don't know that they have the bodies to be like running around and trying to, get 80 hits in a game or something like that.
Yeah, probably not.
Yes. So many super chats to get to, everybody. Thank you all so much for this.
Yeah,
We're
thank
20
you.
minutes in, still running through all the super chats. Beef here. Let's go, fellas. What a game. I believe in this team. I believe in disco. I believe in the power of hockey and family. And let's go. It is, I mean, everybody's so pumped up. I'm so happy doing this post game. It was tough the last game, right? Like just the way that situation went down, the kind of dead third period, all that kind of stuff. I'm just so pumped to be here with everybody and celebrating this
Yeah, I think
victory.
this is something we all needed. And also, Beef, glad you said what a game to be at. So I hope
Yes.
you enjoyed that one in person out there in Minnesota. Saw a fair number of Kraken fans. They were showing them on the broadcast. So that's
I was
pretty
gonna
cool.
say this was a game I feel like you got your money's worth, especially as a Kraken fan, but like in general, like this is about as good a hockey game as you can hope for going into an arena. Kraken fan with the super chat, loving the high scoring games. Now if the D could communicate better. There's still some defensive breakdown issues in this one. RJ, times where there was, whether it's puck watching on the first goal, whether it's Shane on that kind of last goal, not really reading the situation 100%. Brandon Tanev on the PK for the power play goal from Kaprizov, where just super passive. Really Stevenson as well, right? Just super passive on that penalty kill from both of them. Not stepping up and trying to pressure the shooter there. I mean, there were issues in this one, but they're again coachable issues, and they didn't sink the ship, which is again new, and I'm happy about that. Like you can survive it.
Right. And that's something you could not say about this team last season, that they could outscore their problems. It's something that you could say about them 2 years ago when they were a playoff team, is that even though they would have some moments like that, they could outscore those moments. And I think that's a good sign, at least. But yes, there's definitely some stuff that needs to be worked on. The puck watching on that first goal was very last season-esque. I don't like to see that. The Shane Wright one, where that's a rookie moment. And we know he's going to have some of those. Like, we have to have that kind of built in. As good of a player as he is, he's going to have moments like that. And I feel bad for him too, because he had the stick in that lane and then took it away at the last second. He moves it out. So he had the right instinct there, but then just kind of moved off it. So that's when he's looking at tape. He's going to go fix that. And that's what great young players do, is they get better in those areas of the game.
Yep, definitely. SJ, great game, and so thrilled to be able to watch the local broadcast this year. Yes, this was our first regular season, like full on Kraken Hockey Network broadcast, RJ, and I'm just so happy that more and more fans are able to experience it, and especially because this would be your first game on the local broadcast, right? For a lot of potential fans, like looking at checking out the Kraken now that it's more accessible, this is a heck of a game to kind of have your first experience with them.
Right. We've talked about this so much over the offseason. How many more eyeballs are going to potentially be on this team now that it's so much more watchable? And this is the kind of product, if you give it to the people, this is how you create fans. Is having grandma have a chance to watch the game, right? And she sees this, and it just gets people hooked on the sport. So I'm hoping for more of this throughout the season, because that's the way forward for the Kraken. And I'm just happy to see it start so early. Also, can I say one thing about the broadcast too? John Forsland is in mid-season form already. Easily.
Definitely. Now, Kraken fans been waiting a long time to have the games be a lot easier to watch, RJ. But I've been waiting a long time for something else. And that is this message here from Gregory. Lemon lime Gatorade time, baby. This team kept battling back. Joey with crucial saves. Love the new fast-paced system. And I am ready.
Oh, yes. You've got it ready, Dylan. Are you going to drink the whole thing right now? I think you got to save some for future wins.
I'm gonna save some for
take a healthy swig, though.
But yes, no, I'm going to enjoy that. It's been sitting here on the desk. I've just had to get down to the message from Gregory here. But yes, love it. Thanks for the super chat as always, Gregory. And yeah, loving the fast-paced system. Joey, he had some good saves in this one. RJ, I don't know. Am I crazy? I know we've been riding a high. We're reading all the super chats. Everything's great. Am I crazy for thinking that this game from Joey is about on par with the game we saw from Philip Grubauer game one?
I think so. Yeah, no, there's, probably certainly one obvious one that you want back. There's some saves at key moments, but yeah, I mean, I think he's got a little bit better in him, to be fair, but he's got room for that.
Yeah. Oh, I was throwing it out there. Super chat here from Aaron. On site here in St. Paul. Incredible effort tonight. Fun time with other Kraken fans here. Another Kraken fan in the building for this one. That is fantastic. Hope you had a fantastic time there, Aaron. Thank you so much for the super chat. Tammy, I love Monty. Looks good every time he's on the ice. He does. I mean, we could just spend every post game, I feel like, all season long talking about Brandon Montour.
There's going to be a
With
lot of
these.
comments in chat like that over the season, I think.
Brian with the super chat. Good to see you for the new season, Brian. ECH dance party. Let's go. Good to see you all. Great to see you again. And then here we go. Dave with the super chat. Still, the super chat is for you because I'm going to send you more because dang, you are my favorite RFA for the Kraken. Appreciate it. And I see the other ones coming here. Becca with the super chat. Kaprizov found the net in the shootout. What would you send out as our third shooter? Who would you send out?
I mean, you know my answer. I guess I'd have to pick which defenseman I'd want. Lars actually had a breakaway in this one and didn't score, so I would skip him. I think I'd go Will Borgen in Minnesota.
Yeah.
Hometown.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
that's true.
He's been my choice for a while.
Lots
so
of
Will
people
Borgen
in there. Yep, lots of people in there, and then Dave with the huge super sticker there. Really appreciate that, Dave. That is fantastic. Really appreciate all the support from you and everybody tonight. It's really been fantastic and just awesome to kind of have things be positive and kind of going in a good direction here as the team is as well. Light with the super chat. Couldn't watch the game. Too busy teaching marching band, but I see that we won an M's hit goal 300. Finally. Yes. Hope you had a fun time doing that, Light, and with everybody there. But yes, it was a fantastic one. Go back, watch the highlights when you've got time. I so recommend it for this one.
Yeah, no, it's a fun one. And I've enjoyed some of the Discord comments about the band stuff as well that I saw. So especially the jokes about the tuba.
Yeah. Sutroop, RJ, we only had 2 shooters, but 2 for 2 is still great.
Oh, wait, no, did they not go 3 for 3? I thought they did. Did I mess this up? Do I need to delete a tweet?
Oh, in the shootouts, let's see. Bjorkstrand goal, Eberle goal. Yeah, that's it.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh no. The real-time reaction here. This is what you get. This is what you get for when you pay for the super chat right there. Sorry, RJ.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Coop. You see my face get all red. No, that's there's your money's worth. Yeah. Did I misremember who the? Yeah, no, there wasn't a third one.
There was
the third shot. Yes. It was the third save, or not third save, but the Minnesota had a third shooter.
Yeah,
I don't know what I was thinking there. That was Thank you, Coop.
I mean, and for third shooter, I mean, maybe Maddie had looked good throughout the game. Like, I don't know, like he just kind of had good feels.
So, I can't even say it's preseason for everyone anymore. It's really not.
It's not. Regular season. You do not have. Nobody's got.
This is my St. Louis loss. Then then I can turn it around.
Yep.
Oh man, Dan, did you see the video? Dan's reaction to the win. I mean, I can't like send it to you easily here, but I'll see if I can like clip it and put it on here.
Okay, so that's
fantastic.
Good. David, the other super chat. Heck yes, lemon lime Gatorade time, baby. Oh, it feels so good. I know RJ's working on it, so I can't take a swig now, but it feels fantastic. I love the last coming in here. Alex tragedy on the live stream. Yes.
Yeah.
It's our breaking news moment coming in there. All right. So going all the way back up to the start of chat. Thank you again, everybody, so much. 22 super chats to kick this thing off. Absolutely appreciate it. We really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for that. Lots of celebration in chat, obviously, for the first win. Draper at 81-1. Here we come. I mean, I'm down for that. This team looks great. Byron, yes, bring on the comebacks. I'm really enjoying that we can all kind of collectively believe in game results like what we saw tonight again, because it's been minimum 12 months since we've had the ability to reasonably think that this was possible. So I'm really happy about that, enjoying it. Fusion Mix had to watch the Minnesota feed, and I think they have a soft spot for the Kraken in spite of themselves. Really complimentary of Wright and Montour. Well, that's good to hear. I always like to hear when the away team or the other team has good things to say about the Kraken and what the Kraken are doing. That That is good to hear. All the love for Brandon Montour in here. So much good stuff. Fusion makes Eberle and McCann look so good with Wright. Got to say, I love that center swap. I mean, I feel like just the energy from both of those lines kind of tells us that we're probably going to see this maybe for the rest of the road trip, if I had to guess. Just
yeah, I'd say so. I mean, look, if
so.
it ain't broke, right? I mean, just keep it together, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know you didn't like necessarily get. I mean, you get one goal from that line, right? Like the first Jordan Eberle goal. The others are your power play or pulled goaltender kind of situation. But just the way that both those lines played tonight, they played with a lot of energy, and it was a lot of fun. Josh Eberle really delivering great stuff from Cartier and Montour as well. Stoked for the W and for more hockey tomorrow night. I know the schedule has been so strange, but it is very exciting that we don't have to wait long for the next game here, RJ. We just get it tomorrow.
Yeah, no, I'm eager to get to tomorrow, get another game, a chance to beat a really good team too.
Yes.
It's gonna be a good measuring stick type game.
Yes. Dave with another super chat. So happy right now. Let's go, chat. This beer is for you. Love the pull of the reference there. And thank you again, Dave, for all the super chats tonight. This has really been something
and with that,
very appreciative.
Yeah, and thank you, Dave. Yeah, and with that from Dave, here, let's get the Dan Bilesma first win reaction. You ready?
Yeah. Goes for the chest bump.
Yeah, goes for the chest bump. So I love to see that.
That is fantastic. Love it. No, you know that this must have meant a lot for him to get that first win back behind an NHL bench after all this time. You know he's fired up. You know that locker room's going to be fired up. He's going to be right there with all the guys too. Like, you know, he is, RJ.
The guy on the other end of it, I can't tell if it's Stucky or not, but whoever that is was not ready for it. I will say that much.
I was going to say that was a blown opportunity. Whoever that was, I thought it was maybe Stucky too.
Right.
No, is it a Wild?
It's
a Minnesota Wild person. Go back to the beginning of the clip.
That's even better.
Got a Wild jacket on. See?
Oh, no,
that's a Minnesota.
Oh yeah,
Wild
he does.
logo.
He has a Wild jacket on. What is that?
He's just chest bumping random dudes.
Yeah, apparently.
Oh,
love the energy from Dan Bilesma.
I love Disco so much. I mean, again, right? We talked about the culture change this year. That's it on display. It doesn't get much more different than that.
Dylan, could you ever in your life imagine Dave Haxtell doing that?
No.
Even a Stanley Cup win, I don't think.
Not for a second. Not for a second would that ever happen. That is so fantastic. It explains why that guy was not like into it. I don't know that they know each other. Like, it could just be some random guy. From the Goals Gaming here, the super chat. Didn't watch learned during playoff season before last that me watching is bad luck, but I keep the score pinned. 2 points. Raises T. Yes, it was a fantastic one. If that's true, then I guess thanks for not watching. If it's the bad luck, but seriously, this team I think is different than what we've seen before, and it's definitely a good one. Go watch the condensed recap or the highlights at the very least. I think you're going to enjoy it, and I appreciate the super chat. And then Dave with another huge super chat, super sticker here.
Wow,
Dave just going off. Really appreciate it, Dave. Can't thank you enough for all of this. But got to keep the show rolling here. Going back over into chat. I know somebody had it. I'm trying to find it, but the Kraken have scored now more in their first 2 games of this season than they did in the first 4 games, or at least match the first 4 games from last season, which, I mean, right there tells you that this team is in a different place as far as being, potentially dangerous, having the ability to score kind of at any given time. And I'm always appreciative of those kinds of stats because I think that's the stuff we need to hear after last year.
Yeah, actually, they scored more in this game alone than they did in their first 4 games last year. They had 3 total goals in their first 4 games. So there you go.
Yeah. And as Christian saying, we won with scoring with the crying emoji, right? Like, this is not something we're used to necessarily saying, or at least it's been a while, not since season 2. Stratic, what was your favorite goal? So there we go. We got the question, RJ. Do you want to go first?
Can you give me a second to think about it?
Yes. I mean, it's
Okay.
hard not to say the Jared McCann one at the end because, just the hype moment, you've pulled the goalie, it gets the game tied, you're going to overtime. It's the Kraken finding a way to get the point, right? Good teams find a way to get a point here, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? Like that's all tied up in the Jared McCann goal. On top of it just being a sick dish from Riker Evans over to Jared McCann, who does what Jared McCann does, which is score a goal that only an elite goal scorer can score. That
Yeah.
being said, RJ, we had a power play goal in this game, and it was a cool power play goal where they were able to make a sick feed from Berkey. Been waiting so long to say that, right? Sick feed from Berkey on the power play to somebody backdoor. Yes, it's not necessarily how you draw it up where Eberle, has to redirect it with his skate blade. But guess what? He did it, and the Kraken were 50% on the power play in this game because of it. Love it.
Exactly. I mean, you take that, and it's the kind of play that they've been practicing a lot. So I was thinking about that one. I still have to go with Eberle's 300th, that first one, because it got the Kraken back into the game, and it really was the first, felt like real positive thing going for them offensively. And I think that just started everything else rolling. So I'm going to pick that one. And he went to the net. That's what a leader does. I kind of made the spiel for it earlier, but that is going to still be my favorite one.
I think that's good.
No,
Josh.
I kind of want to. Oh, go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, go for it.
I wanted to hop to the bottom of chat here because, well, I'm seeing some comments because we also have some news here
Oh,
about the Davy Jones
if
hat.
it's hat, yeah, first time this year.
The Davy
Oh,
Jones hat is no more. They have retired the Davy Jones hat. Out goes the Davy Jones hat. In comes the belt. You ready for the belt?
ah,
Yeah, it's the heavyweight belt. So Alexiak handed off the new player of the game award to Jordan Eberle tonight in honor of his 300th career goal and the impact he had in the game. So yeah, it's a big belt that the Kraken have revealed here, and so that's going to go to the player of the game. I'm trying to get a picture of it here. Yeah,
I
it's
was
like
gonna, yeah,
it's got like the WWE logo on it, even I think.
yeah, because they were talking about that, right? Like,
Yeah,
I remember people talking about that in and around the team. I did not realize that it was going to have such a level of importance.
I didn't either. I didn't either. And I know they were talking about Alexiak like flashing the belt after a shot block and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is more of like a player chosen thing. We know the hat was definitely like from the top, of course, with
Yes.
ownership, like having the Davy Jones connections and all that stuff. So I'm seeing some kind of mixed responses in here. Actually, a lot of them anti-belt here at the bottom of chat as we see some, but we've got some mixed opinions here. Also,
Yeah.
I love all the energy, everyone like thanking Dave for the support for us and everything
Yeah.
too. Love to see that.
No, I definitely appreciate that from everybody. Yeah, I mean, I have mixed responses. Like, I could understand, there's a lot of teams that just have like something different each year, right? And it kind of symbolizes the mentality that you enter the season with, and there you go, right? Whether it's a hard hat or whatever it is, right? You want to have this is our identity for this season, and so it's going to be given to the player who best represents that after each victory we have. Like, I get that idea, and my guess is that's what's going on here. And look, things in broad terms needed a change from what they were and everything. So I'm okay with there being a change. I think it is still cool that you had that connection, but I could see wanting to go with something that you feel like represents, things, and nothing actionable that players can do on the ice, but a mentality that players can have on the ice. Like, we're players on the ice supposed to have the mentality of Davy Jones from Disney blockbuster movies, right? Like, it's a little different than being like, we want to go out there and be the heavyweight champs and go out there and move bodies around and make things happen. So I could kind of get on board with it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't. Also, Olivia saying Dan said Ebbs picked the belt for this year. So again, if that's player driven, if
Player
that's the
driven,
captain
I'm
kind of
behind
picking
it.
what they want to have, then I'm more behind it. Is a little generic looking, and I see the comments to that effect. But if the players pick it, I want something the players most importantly, I want something the players are excited about and something they want to earn.
I think last season taught us, right? Like, we want the players to be feeling as good as possible and to have that carryover game to game and just have them excited and in it. And yes, if this was part of the change that's going to make that happen for the full season, then I think it's a good thing. And look, there's going to be other ways the team could use that Davy Jones hat. That is still an incredible piece that they have and that they're going to have at their disposal for things. It just means that it doesn't have to be used for this. Let's see. Tammy Wright has looked really good, in my opinion, making young player mistakes, but learning from them as well. Yeah, I mean, Shane Wright just kind of continues to be Shane Wright and do all the good stuff that he does, RJ. Chris, power play's looking better. Love that for sure.
I like this comment from Bryce here on the belt. At least it wasn't a Nickelback album. That's true. If you are giving Everly the choice, yeah, it could be worse.
Could have been bad. Could have been that he just pulls out the guitar and serenades everybody at the end of a game, right? Like, did we want that instead? Let's see. Justin, anyone think that the graphic behind the Kraken broadcast bench is just nice to look at? So I did notice this during the intermission, RJ. I don't know if you're watching, how close you're watching, but behind Inverness and Allison Lucan on that new set that they have, there is that thing, and it's got the water kind of going in and out, the tide there, and then the Kraken logo kind of like fading in or out, similar to some stuff that we have used in the past with Emerald City Hockey, including on our website right now. Just saying. And in general, the one thing I will say about it is this: I liked it. I like that there was kind of movement to it, but it was a little distracting. And really the thing was, if you're going to have that behind them, you can't have them wear blue or white, because I felt like both Ian Furness with his blue suit and Allison Lucan with the white shirt kind of blending in a little bit with that as things were going on.
I was going to say the colors did get a little bit lost in there. So it's just something you have to plan for. I think it's still a fine background to have, but right. You gotta plan the outfits for it a little bit in a way that maybe you wouldn't with a normal background.
Yes. Some more love for the power play via Ren. It feels like every power play looks at least a little different, so refreshing. And B, they had 5 shots on the first power play, and they were great chances too. 23-24 Kraken could literally never. It's true. But like, again, like I brought it up for my favorite goal. Again, just having a power play, RJ, that even just like the idea of it going out there and being at 20% or something for this season, just having that idea that, hey, when we're on the power play, I don't need to look away. This isn't the time for me to get up and go refill my water or whatever, right? It's must watch television. That's so huge.
It is. And there were so many chances last season where the Kraken, look, they didn't have to be a lethal power play, a top end power play, but if you could just take advantage of one of them every now and again in a key moment, you were going to win a lot more games. There were enough close games like that. And it feels like this is a power play that is definitely capable of that. And we saw it through, look, and the numbers during the preseason weren't even that good. It's something where Bilesman was even asked about that, right? I think it was like 1 for 26 or something through the preseason. And are we concerned? But I think 1 of 29.
No, exactly. It was two for 29, maybe. It was bad. It was
either
bad.
way. It's not good, right? But as far as the level of concern, though, I think we both agreed, like we were seeing all the right things and the right movement, everything they were trying to set up. And so we were confident, it just needs to kind of work out the kinks and build that chemistry. And I think this is the first game where you really saw that come together. I think I even tweeted something to that effect in the second intermission that, it's looking confident and dangerous. It's not perfect yet. There's still some things to work out, but you can see the improvement in the building of the chemistry, and that's just going to serve them all season.
Yes, and I believe that was also the power play that Maddie, takes the opening draw, gets injured, has to go off. Chandler Stevenson hops on for him, and then the Kraken are able to do that, right? Like, I'm not misremembering, but I'm pretty sure that was that power play.
I think it was that one.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm looking at it and it looks like it potentially from the personnel, but you have that component of it. But it's just, as I'm watching the goal simulation, by the way, love this, that the NHL is doing this year. I don't know if everybody knows about this, but I'll say it. If you go on the NHL app or on the certainly the NHL.com, and you go to the game, and then you scroll down, and under each of the goals, like it has like the play button on the right so you can watch the highlight, but underneath it has a little pull down menu thing that says goal simulation, and it'll show you the ice and all of the players on the ice from like a top down thing. They're all little circles, very similar to the whiteboard and the stuff I do with the magnets there. And it's so cool to watch and kind of see things develop from that angle, because it's top down. You're really getting to see how the players move and where the defensive coverage shifts and all of that kind of stuff. And one of the things from this goal that I think is super impressive is the way that Chandler Stevenson basically kind of just takes defenders with him and helps open things up. And that's why Jordan Eberle is just left so wide open on that back door, is because Chandler Stevenson really draws two defenders over with him, and Berkey being able to make the pass through essentially three players at that point, because it's got to get through Chandler Stevenson plus the two wild defenders. It's just not a power play that seemed possible really under the previous regime.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to score a point here, Dylan, but what I tell you on the podcast about Berkey on that right side with the vision, I know the one-timer isn't perfect, but I love him in that spot.
Yeah, no, we've been waiting for it from him for a long time. He's finally kind of put in a spot where his skill set can kind of come to the top, and he can make those plays. So absolutely love it. Let's see. Andrew, beyond the goal, felt like Cartier was very solid tonight. Yeah, we talked about the love for that fourth line earlier. They were just really, really good. Milo, dare I say it? We are back.
I think you can dare say it.
I think we can, right? Like, and tomorrow will be a good test because it's going to be a tough turnaround, 24-hour turnaround. You got to go travel down to Dallas. You're playing a good team, best team that you have faced so far this season. It's going to be really interesting to see kind of what the Kraken look like given the circumstance of that, and what kind of, not just effort that we see from them, but what they're actually able to accomplish, right? Like, I don't have an effort question with this group. It's going to be just kind of interesting to see, can they kind of rise and play up to the level of the Dallas Stars and get something done there.
Yeah, and the Stars also did play tonight too. So when you have both teams coming off on the second half of a back-to-back, I mean, that's just who can prepare themselves the best, who can defeat that fatigue the best. A lot of it is just preparation and who comes to the rink more prepared to play.
Yep. Bach, I'm just glad we beat Fleury having our number allegations. He has terrorized us for too long. Yes, we finally got him, RJ. We got him.
Made him look human, that's for sure.
Yes.
For probably the first time ever, I think.
It feels like it, whether it is or not. Like, we might have had some success in one game or something. I think maybe 1 year is the Chicago game he really kind of like stole from us.
Well, the Kraken, I think, won that in a shootout. It was like Don Scully, with the winner. But he was the only reason they were in it at all.
Yeah. This one felt like the first time we were really like there. Sam, awesome Kraken dub. I do have a question regarding ice time distribution. As you guys mentioned, you wanted a more traditional distribution, but it looks similar to Hack's deployment. Your thoughts? So I've thought this through the first two games, that Dan really just runs all four lines. Like, he is just kind of going out there. Do you think we kind of see that all season long, RJ? Or do you think that that's just like an early season? He wants to make sure everybody's kind of getting reps. And realistically, just because it is kind of like a top 9 or really even top 12, he's just kind of trying to get a feel for who's really going, who's gelling together. And then, 10, 15 games into the season, he'll start separating those lines that have been performing well from the ones that maybe haven't been as much.
It's a good question. And it wouldn't surprise me if he maybe moved away from that even distribution a little bit. I mean, I look at this game compared to last game, and I think you see last game might have been a little bit more even, or less even, sorry, than this one. And I think it's the type, the game script, right? These are 2 1-goal games. So for close games, you'd think you'd want to stack the lines for your best players. You haven't seen it yet. I still don't feel like you can go with this all season. I mean, Hackstall did last year. It was fine, but I just think as you need points, as you get into desperate situations, you're going to find out also kind of who you want out there for certain things. Like you said, you might just be testing things out. That said, they do have 4 lines. Like, all 4 lines are good. Like, this might be the best 4th line in the NHL.
I that's what I was going to say, is I feel like if there was a line that was really loaded up with like difference making players, I feel like he would be using it, because really look at both of these games kind of doing that on the back end, right? Like, Brandon Montour is playing huge minutes and big minutes for this team. Vince Dunn at times is, Adam Larson is, in a way that, like, Will Borgen is not, right? Like there's a pretty big gap there kind of defensively. It's never going to be as noticeable defensively as it could be for the forward group, but I feel like there's enough hints to things that would say that if they had a line the way like Minnesota has their top line, or even just their top 6 versus their bottom 6, I feel like Dan would run it that way. It's just because of the kind of even distribution and the fact that there's not too many players on this team that truly kind of separate themselves as true difference makers from the rest of the pack, that there's just not really a rush to do that.
Right. And also, I mean, the amount of power plays too. I mean, in game one, the Kraken had 1 power play. In this one, they had 2 power plays, which is not a whole lot. And I think as you get more power play ice time, the high end forwards are going to just get more ice time overall. So I think that one might be another reason that these are the numbers that we see.
Yes. I was gonna say, when do we start with the do the Kraken have a problem drawing penalties discussion, RJ?
I don't think you can make that. I don't think you can make that statement after the one that Tanev drew somehow in this one on Brodin.
I was gonna say.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say it's just a problem generally for the officiating that they drew a penalty there, but otherwise, no.
Yeah. Lindsay, getting 2 points tonight makes me feel so much better, even if we lose tomorrow's second half of a back-to-back with travel versus a good team. Thanks to tonight, it's not a 3-game losing streak. I feel that way too, right? Like there was a part of me that was in the third period, especially as the Wild were scoring in the third period. I was like, oh no, like just get at least the one, right? Get the 1 point. You can walk out of the first 3 games with 1 point. It's something that you can build off of, and you're not the Buffalo Sabres, right? At the very least, you can say that. And for them to be able to get the 2 points, I feel like is big after playing these 2 games here, where again, you're playing teams that are roughly on the same level as you on paper, I would say, right? Like these are teams that are projected to maybe make the playoffs in a wild card spot or be on the outside looking in just the same way you are. This was the time for you to kind of prove who you were after you blow the 2-goal lead in game one. You're able to kind of get that back in this one, which I'm sure is probably a big win for everybody's psyche involved on the team. But it's also just like kind of a big thing as far as feeling like, okay, yes, the rest of this month, while they're still figuring things out, while they're still getting used to the systems and playing with the new acquisitions and building that chemistry, they're going to be able to pick up points, which after game one, maybe people started having doubts about. People, definitely not me.
Yeah, no, not you at all, for sure. But that's the thing. You can't guarantee a spot through the first few games, right? You can't put yourself in it for sure, but you can take yourself out of things if you do poorly enough at the start. And what has Dan been saying too, that really it's going to be like 20 or so
20
games before this team reaches its final form. And through 2 games, I buy into that. I think as much as important as it is they got the win here, there's still plenty of things to work on. We talked about the net front defense. We talked about the various mistakes they made. There are a lot of things they did here that can lose them games over the long haul, but it's all coachable stuff. It's all fixable stuff. So the key is to just get enough points, ugly or not, to get you to that point where you fix the mistakes and you're playing the way you want to play night in, night out.
Yes. And, other things to work on. I felt like in this one, there was a lot of neutral zone turnovers, right? Like that's another thing for them to work on. They didn't totally get killed from some of them, but like that is something that I think the coaching staff will take a look at and be like, oh, maybe we should work on this a little bit. Maddie, so is Stevenson good? I haven't noticed him, which is usually a good thing with this team. I've been impressed with Chandler Stevenson through the first 2 games, RJ. I think what he brings is, I talked about kind of a little bit what he did on that power play goal from Jordan Eberle. But what I do feel like he does is he is what maybe offensively Maddie's final form is, which is, I talked earlier about Maddie being a facilitator for offense. I feel like Chandler Stevenson is proving to be a facilitator of offense where he will just kind of make a play. You and I talked about this on Red Glare, our Patreon podcast with Macklin Celebrini. So much of today's NHL is built around you get the puck on your stick. You just kind of have to go with it. You have to go with the first play that pops into your head because the game is just fast and you kind of have to do that. And I feel like Chandler Stevenson does that, right? We've seen a lot of plays of him making passes that are not just trying to set up the couple looks that the Kraken have been practicing over and over, right? He's trying to do something different because he sees something. And so he's just going to go for it and try to make that play. And that's something the Kraken lacked last year. I think he's good at drawing defensive coverage the way he did on that power play. He does it at 5-on-5 too. I have been impressed by those components of Stevenson's game so far.
Right, and that's the thing that Bilesma talked about too, the smarts and the creativity that he brings,
Mhm.
and he certainly brought that, and I've been impressed at times with that so far this season. I will say one thing that he is not, and in comparison to like a Brandon Montour, as you look at those, the kind of the two new guys they brought in, I would say he's not a difference maker. Like he's not one of those guys that's going
Yeah.
to stand out and be flashy. I mean, you look at tonight's stats. I think that was a good indication from tonight. He had about 20 and a half minutes of ice time, 0 shot attempts. So didn't even attempt a shot. That
Mhm.
said, his line did good things when he was out there. You know, it's not like he
Mhm.
was doing nothing, but he's not the kind of player that's going to take over a game in the way that we saw, say, Brandon Montour do tonight. I know different positions and all
I
that stuff, right?
Yeah,
But
yes. No, I'm there with you, and I don't think the expectation, like,
or Jared McCann,
we were never
you
gonna
know.
yeah, yeah. I don't think anybody was necessarily expecting that from Chandler Stevenson. What's gonna be interesting, though, is there's so many parallels to, like, what you just talked about and Chandler Stevenson and Alex Wenberg, right? In the sense of it's not gonna necessarily be a driver of goal scoring offense and all of that kind of stuff. What I feel like, though, is that Chandler Stevenson is um is kind of like a in some ways a reverse Alexander Wenberg. Yes, neither of them are going to take shots and they're going to play kind of similar in that regard, and they're both going to probably get more ice time than ideally you would want them to in this lineup. But hey, they're the vets and the guys able to make certain plays happen. But I feel like he's the reverse of Wenberg in the sense that Wenberg was getting a lot of ice time last year because Wenberg could shut down the opposing team's top forward. Where I feel like Stevenson will get ice time this year because he is somebody who can help facilitate offense for a guy like Berkey and take advantage of having a net front presence like a Jaden Schwartz. Like the emphasis that Wenberg had in the system for the Kraken last year on making things happen defensively, Chandler Stevenson will have that same kind of emphasis on making things and helping make things happen offensively. Again, it's not necessarily ideal for your ice time leader to kind of have such a capped ceiling and to be somebody who doesn't take a lot of shots and isn't trying to score and isn't that true difference maker. But I kind of like with this group because you already have guys like Maddie and Shane and Yanni Gord still hanging around. I like the idea of taking that role and having at least be somebody who's more focused on the offensive zone rather than playing a solid two-way game through the neutral zone. You didn't need more of that.
No, you didn't. And like you needed a different type of player. And Stevenson is that, right? And he definitely brings more offensively or more in a distribution sense than say an Alex Wenberg. He is more of a difference maker than an Alex Wenberg, but you know, he's I think it's just again, it's same thing with Wenberg. Be realistic about the type of player that he is, the type of player that he isn't.
Yes. And yeah, no, there's still plenty of conversations to have around it, but I do kind of like that subtle shift, but kind of comparing him to who they've had in the past there. Dave with another super sticker, just loading us up, Dave. It's
Wow.
incredible. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you
Um,
so much.
DJ and Tay, how are the face-off numbers looking? So I'm pulling that up here. Kraken 49.2% on the face-off, RJ. So they're doing it. They're doing it in the sense that they're winning enough face-offs, but they're still technically below 50%, which means that they can win the game. For all those like OG Emerald City Hockey fans who've been hanging around with us now into season 4, you know how important I think that is for this group.
Yep, definitely. And look at the breakdown too by player. How about Yanni Gord? 76.5% on the draw in this one.
Mhm.
Stevenson uncharacteristically low. He was 6 for 16. That's 37.5%. Shane Wright, a perfect 50%. Think you
Yeah.
take that from him.
Yeah, no, big bounce back games for Shane Wright and Yanni Gord, who did not have great numbers in that first game. And the Kraken just got like destroyed face off percentage wise. Um, I think this is something that maybe we can hope for. I think if you have Chandler Stevenson, who on average will be above 50%, if you can get around 50% from Yanni Gord and Shane Wright, this team should do pretty solid. We know Maddie has face-off struggles. I don't know that that's going to get fixed this year. But I feel like if you can have 3 of your 4 guys at say 48% and above, that would be a huge improvement for this team and kind of make a difference.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still think a lot of it is what you do after the draw or what, you know, what the not everyone besides the center does. But there are certain key face offs where you can have a clutch guy. It's going to make a difference.
Yeah. So I think that's huge. Coming up on the hour mark here. I mean, we could do like a quick last call for everybody. I know there was a ton of chats that I wasn't able to get to. So if you really want something read, or you have a question or something you want to talk about from this game, you can go ahead and throw it in at the bottom now, and then I'll kind of just hang out down there and kind of go through those. Pablo, guys, how many wins do you think the Kraken will win this season? Can they win more than the 46 wins we had in season 2? It's a high bar, but I mean, I think if things come together for this group, RJ, and after the 20 game, you're able to tread water for the first 20 games, and then the 20 game thing hits and Dan's right and everybody kind of syncs up and starts going. I think you could end up with around what you maybe did there. Maybe.
Yeah,
Not
I mean,
likely, but maybe.
Yeah, I was gonna say that is still a lot. I forget how many wins exactly we had when we went and predicted every single game of the season. I wonder how we're doing through 2 games. How we said they do through the first 2 games.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that, but yeah, I think it's a little bit optimistic, but they could be in that range.
Yeah. Let's see. When's the next Kraken home game? It is next Thursday, Pablo. It's going to be against the Flyers. Welton already added it there in the chat. So there you go. Let's see. Daniel, I hope we have a plan in place to keep all the bombs from the blue lines from turning into rushes the other way. That was another thing. There was a couple times where Wild are able to kind of get some odd man rushes coming back against you. And it especially kind of bugged me a little bit in the first period, RJ, because I felt like the Kraken came out and they were rolling and they were starting to build momentum. And then there was just a couple times where, the shots from the point, or you're trying to enter the zone and you get the turnover, and it's just something bad coming back the other way that you have to deal with. And, it just kind of keeps you from building and building and building and eventually getting one.
Yeah, that's one of those coachable things too. I know Edzo pointed out with Matty Beniers where he kind of turned around, tried to make more of a play than he should have, didn't dump it in. It came back the other way. There were a couple pinches from Jamie Alexiak that I didn't particularly like that led to some odd man rushes. But again, that's all stuff that you can kind of tweak and refine over the course of a season.
Yep. Mason, do you think Borgen and Evans will find chemistry at some point? It looked rough again tonight. They're going to find some form of equilibrium if they continue to play together every night. I've said in the past, I don't know how their styles are really supposed to match up like long term and in a big way and then play off each other and all that kind of stuff. They're just, I think, too different in how they play, and their strengths and weaknesses don't necessarily line up to help out the other one. So I think they will get better just because any defensive pair that's going to continue to play together is going to get better as they build that chemistry. Same thing with Alexiak and Montour. Like, they looked better tonight. Like, it looked like they had communicated and kind of come to terms with certain looks about who was going to take what. There wasn't as much active communication between the two as there was game 1, where it was like you could tell that Alexiak and Montour were talking to each other out there while plays were happening. So there will be some of that chemistry built, but I still have my reservations about what the ceiling is for them.
Yeah, it hasn't looked all that great through 2 games. I will say they got a little bit better as the game went on. I checked at the first intermission because I kind of had an inkling about that. And they actually had the most 5-on-5 ice time of any D pair through the first period, which I was a little surprised to see. And the numbers were pretty bad, about 28% expected goal share at that point. They got it up near about 50 by the end of the game. So they did a little bit better, but yeah, still not ideal.
Yeah.
Tammy, I will say one thing actually real quick, if you don't mind. Dunn Montour, 3 minutes together, 0.2 expected goals for, 0 expected goals against, and one actual goal for while they were out there on the ice together as well.
Was that the McCann goal, I wonder?
Well, it's 5-on-5, so that was, are they counting that 5-on-5 or 6-on-5?
I mean, it shouldn't be 5-on-5.
It shouldn't be 5-on-5, right? Yeah. So what goal was
interesting.
It? I don't know.
Tammy, are the Kraken going to trade someone at some point, or going with one healthy scratch forever? Well, if injuries start piling up, you're not going with one healthy scratch forever.
Yeah, I mean, if Vince Dunn is out multiple games, potentially right there, you need some more flexibility. You have to go with the backup. So I think sooner rather than later, we'll see somebody moved.
Moved and in some capacity, right? Like, I guess there is the possibility that if you can't find a trading partner in a certain situation, you could waive someone.
Yeah, someone.
And then
You're on the Armchair GM stream, you know.
Yes. I think we can end it on this one. This is a nice fun one from Daniel. Watched last half of this game at a Mexican restaurant. Pretty wild seeing the motion and rhythm of ice hockey backed with salsa music. I think that sounds wonderful, Daniel, and I bet it actually probably worked.
Yeah, definitely. And I know you could just have also all the chips and salsa that you could possibly eat during a hockey game too. I know you would love that.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've seen it at least through football games, but it was I can down the chips and salsa for sure. That is a talent of mine. Want to thank everybody for joining us for this one. Loved going through this. Loved all the super chats. Thank you to everybody who was able to contribute there. We really appreciate all of that. Special thanks to Dave for going above and beyond in this one. I think we should definitely talk about that. But just happy to be able to celebrate a win with everybody and enjoy some lemon lime Gatorade.
Absolutely. Yeah. Have another big swig of the lemon lime Gatorade, Dylan, and make sure you have some more of those on hand. I mean, Dave alone might have paid for the whole season with the lemon lime Gatorade, to be honest. So, but yeah, thank you everyone in chat. Thanks for everyone who left super chats. It's great to be back here after a win. It's been a long time.
Yep. So same time, same place here tomorrow as the Kraken take on the Dallas Stars. Looking forward to that one, and we'll see you all then.